our coding and our quality of the code. But as we're moving into business agility, we need to include our business teams as well. When we talk about how can we build in quality, you know, everybody is part of the value delivery we're doing. So we need to include business people as well when we talk about the different quality practices that we have in place. That's being said, SAFe of course started out from a software and product development perspective, and a lot of the challenges you see also when you're having disconnected people sitting in either in silos or in different teams not talking together is aligning on the quality. For those of you who've been working with Lean, know that one of our key things is to first of all get waste out of our system, have flow, and relentlessly improve. And this flow thing tends to get really disrupted by a ton of defects coming in. And it doesn't make it easier when we have a lot of people working on the same code base, because suddenly, I mean, who's going to fix the defects? Is it this team over here? Or is it that team over there? Who built it? Who should fix it? Who have time for it? So even here, we need to start to work very closely together on ensuring quality in order to enable flow inside this construct we call an agile release train, which is really a virtual team of teams. So fortunately, building in quality is one of our, well, first of all, it's one of our core principles, one of our core values in SAFe, to make sure that we have that is engraved inside one of our core competencies called team and technical agility. We have built-in quality there as well, because we think it's so essential that to be able to deliver predictably to our customers, to be able to have flow when we're doing this, we need to have the best possible quality, and certainly not looking at it from a thing that you need to test at the end, because testing is only going to give you one thing. It's going to reveal your problems. It's certainly not going to solve your problems. So this is also why that we're seeing some frustrations over that the SAFe may be a bit prescriptive, because we're maybe not prescribing, but we are certainly suggesting a lot of practices that you put into place when you're working scaled and when you're working with SAFe. I mean, we're talking about, first of all, your whole agile infrastructure. This thing that you're building, is it architected in a sound way that can scale, that can adjust as you need? How do you coordinate that if you have hundreds, thousands of people working together? So we're having this notion of a self-managing team where you want to have them focus and evolve and have responsibility over the architecture, but at the same time, we can't have 100 teams going in different direction. So here we are inside the Agile Release Train as such, working with a system architect to give guidelines and vision on our architecture. And I think that's really, really a crucial position to have in here. And we're not talking about this super architect that can do everything by themselves. I'm talking about an inclusive architect that is able to facilitate opinions about architecture amongst those smart people that are already working either as senior developers or maybe some architect specialists that are working in the team, and being able to include those, have a good discussion, setting the frames about where can the teams operate is so crucial to me. And this is again about people working together rather than somebody sitting there and dictating how things should be. So architecture, for me, a lot of it starts there, and it lays the foundation for being able to do release on demand and do a flow of changes all along. So that's one thing.
Yeah, well, if I tell something here, and I could tell something like in a practical thing. Okay, guys, we have many practices, and as Rune just said, okay, we need to have an architect, and we have, but you need to think first, is this is your first art in the organization, so you're working with the first art in your organization, or you just have multiple arts? Because I think one good aspect here is to form community of practice, and you can build the quality for everyone by community of practice. You can induce guys to perform more and more qualitative work by having this community of practice and encouraging guys in every innovation period, you know, in our last iteration 5, we have like an I&A, innovating and adapting, okay, makes them thinking about quality and how can they improve quality by themselves. Because again, we are moving and we are anchor agility and we built in quality. And as Rune just said, okay, if I would ask something for myself, okay, Fady, I have like 100 team members. I am an SPC. I'm implementing safe, and actually, code sucks. It can't even be better. What can I do? I tell you something. Don't expect to get things right from the first time. Start step by step. Start to just promoting quality of codes inside your organization. Maybe you just giving them an prizes. Maybe you just awarding them with something. Maybe this something is not unsafe, but actually this is from my business experience. Make them in a competition, in a good competition, to deliver the best out of them. And this will deliver a good code. It will not be enhanced first, but time by time. If you are already have multiple trains, you already in place. So, wow, champ, this is your ideal situation here. Get the guys from best teams to another arts to help at some extent. Maybe if you found something. Well, a lot of ways, but still a challenge. You built in quality. And of course, with pandemic and with COVID-19, change is bigger. So I think this is my opinion. What do you think, Rune?
Hey, Fady, that's funny because it just made me think of something that I haven't thought about in quite a lot of years. So I was working for Nokia, producing mobile phones at the time when we're doing that for the emerging markets in Asia. And we had this senior architect and developer, smartest guy I ever met, really, really smart guy. And we're spending a lot of time doing code reviews. So every time we did a change to the mobile phone, we needed to have 2 people going in, reviewing the code, looking at the test cases. And he didn't really think that people did a good job, because people don't like to review usually. They like to code, sometimes they like to test, and that's it. So actually what he did, as funny as we think of it now, is that in one of the features he did, he built in on purpose 3 mistakes. He made 3 mistakes in the code that would make the phone break. And then he said, whoever can find this, so he told everybody, I put in 3 mistakes. If you can find this, I'll give you a present. And everybody was like, oh, wow, competition and a present, and everybody's looking. The thing is that nobody found it because he was so smart to hide it, so he had to show them afterwards. But it's a different way of thinking, saying, okay, so instead of just sitting down, reviewing the code and doing that, do something else, be inventive. I mean, that's what relentless improvement is about. Be a bit innovative about how you go about doing that. Changes the way you look at it. Of course, it's obvious you need to automate. It's obvious that you need to use new practices. I mean, that's so normal these days that you just need to go and do it. But you also need to go in and look at how you review things. And this goes for both code and it goes for business as well. I mean, don't sit down and do your marketing campaign by yourself. Have other people look at it. Have other people vet it and see if it's a good idea. But for that competition, that I'll never forget about that, especially because nobody found the mistakes.
Okay, well, it seems challenging. One thing is about Johari model, and I advise everyone to read about Johari window model. It's speaking about how much open we are in the team, and I think this will help as well. And actually, from Johari model, he tells us, okay, you need to have an open space with your team. You as a team member have a better understanding of your team. They know everything about you and you know everything about them. And we as an SPC, as a Scrum Masters, we need to enhance and increase this open arena, because some others arena like blind or even like a hidden agendas for team member may affect the whole work. But one thing is raising up here when you're trying to open up with the teams is about how can we organize the work? Well, this is one thing. How can you tell everyone you are fair and square? Of course, we're gonna put planning together, we do commitment together. But the point is, sometimes we feel that the system is not having the problem like we have. The system wants to continue. So how can you organize these small batches or large batches? Of course, if you are a CEO and I'm coming to you and tell you, okay, Rune, you know, we hit by our competitor by 10% in Asia market. Well, if I am the CEO, I will tell, okay, get these guys on. We need to get our position back. So, in your opinion, Rune, how can we speak about organizing the work? Because this is a way to have an agile team, and then we have like an anchor business agility inside organizations. But it always hits with the much work we have and expectations and how we're organizing the work inside the flow.
Yeah, organizing work. So you know what? Things probably haven't changed that much when you look at it. I mean, companies still want to do great things to change the way they're working. They want to leave a footprint, and whether you're working in waterfall or agile doesn't make a difference. They still want to do big things. For us, it's really about addressing, well, two very specific things. How do you know you're building the right thing in the first place? That's kind of the things we're trying to address from the waterfall world, where you in the fight to build the right thing, you do a huge investment up front in analysis to make the most and best calculated guess what to build. And then you build everything, all the requirements, all 100,000 of them. And you may be right and you may be wrong. And there's been some statistics on that. Whereas the way we try to address this, at least from the SAFe perspective, is all the way up. We're talking at the portfolio now. We're talking where the really big investments are being done. Is that instead of investing in tons of paperwork, in requirements, in designs that we don't really know is working, and it's a lot of investment, we want to use this this concept that's been going on in Agile for a very long time called the MVP, the minimal viable product. We're quite specific about the minimal viable product in SAFe. It's not a paper model. It's not something that you just create over an afternoon, typically. So an MVP in our context is a real product. It's a real product that we use to prove or disprove whether this big thing we want to build is a good idea. But it has to be a real product, and we have to test it with real customers to get real feedback, to get real opinions on it. So that's actually where you see the very early stages of organizing work, is at the portfolio level, trying to see how we're gonna make sure our investments is the right thing to do, and then building it afterwards. So the concept of the MVP at the portfolio level, using within the epics, is the first part of organizing work when you're working at that level. If you can't break it down by that point, then we're already starting to see challenges, because you push all the rest of the work downwards towards the agile release trains we have. And then secondly, do you want to add something, Fady?
Well, actually, I can't understand. Let me playing a dummy guy here. Well, actually, sometimes, you know, the MVPs is about when you're introducing something new. But if you have already a business and you have an already agile, and for example, if I am in Nokia and I am having a new mobile phones, and come on, how can I do MVP for things already is going on? So I'm speaking here about stage of first transformation. So can you elaborate more about this, Rune? How can we implement this concept? Because again, this is situation we can all face together in our organizations.
Right. Yeah. So the trick is, of course, that when I say you build a real product in an MVP, you're not building the final product. So you're not building in order for features. We want to be able to build a product that can tell us and give us data whether people are going to use this or not. And when you're talking about an app world, talking about, you know, apps for this one, it's going to be building part of your app, giving it to, I don't know, some hundreds, maybe 1,000 users. They could use it. They will give you feedback. You'll build in metrics into your application to understand, are they using it, where they're using it, where they're spending time, you know. So we're generating a lot of data trying to understand from a product management perspective, is this paying off or not? Are they doing what we're expecting them to do or not? So in that sense, it's a lot easier. When you're talking about building a satellite, well, you're probably not going to build half a satellite and send it into space. That's probably a bad idea. So it depends what market you are in and what you're doing. But if you're in the digitization world, when you're trying to digitize processes, you can do it with simple solutions, trying to see if putting services online, minimalistic, is going to help you, is going to make your customer having better engagement with you. Are they going to be happier when you help them with this thing? So MVPs comes in many different shapes and sizes depending on what you're building. It's going to be hard to explain all the different ones. But the thing is just, you need to try to do it and get as much early data as you can in order to understand whether the thing you're building is the right thing or not. I think that's the closest I'm going to get you to that point.
Yeah, well, actually, from my experience as well, I would like to add, yes, MVP is a great approach when we're speaking about this. And one thing as well, one thing is to manage the expectations of business owners, and we have an executive, because the beauty of SAFe is we having a business owners and our executives in BI planning. So managing expectations as well will adding a lot to your teams, because, and I'm talking here, if you are an RTE, if you are a head of delivery and you try to implementing SAFe, if I am in SPC, and actually one or two customers I work with, they gave me a huge expectations for teams, and I say, just slow down. This is our first transformation. I know you need much for less. We all know, we all want this, but come on, we need to settle a good thing to deliver value. So I believe managing expectations and getting help from SAFe in many practices, because we always engaging with the management. So managing expectation as well will having this right, I can say, leap to have a batch size or a size of work that fits for our teams. What do you think, Rune?
Yeah, so first of all, I always firmly believe in that the best people who are capable of breaking down the work into smaller pieces is the people who are going to do the work. So that's crucial for me working in Agile and with self-managing teams, is that they are deeply involved in doing this. And of course, we're doing that when we're doing PI planning. That's the teams breaking it down. Of course, we do see anti-patterns. We see anti-patterns where features are coming in with all the user stories defined that the team is just told to make them. That's not what we want. We want them to engage and ask questions and break it down into our user stories, our enablers, making them as small as possible. And then, of course, all of the Scrum Masters and Agile coaches listening to this call, your job is to help the teams get those batches of work even smaller. And there's so many reasons to do it. First of all, the whole part of variation. The bigger our tasks are, the less we know when it's going to be done. It's simply because, it gets more intangible when it's big. You don't know. So breaking things into very, very small pieces is something that is going to help us become more predictable. And when we're looking at something we want to achieve, working Agile, working SAFe, is this predictability. What we tell and what we commit to is actually also what we deliver, is something that's been missing for a long time within product development. I mean, missed deadlines, I think we can, practically all of us can relate to that. And the better we can be at predicting and giving some good guesses about when we're going to deliver, that's going to help with the whole trust thing being built between, in this case, IT and the business. Are we actually delivering on time, on quality, with what they're requesting? So this is a trust thing as well, that small batches can help us achieve. But the team needs to get good at this. I mean, nobody did that for them before. And now suddenly you need to do that yourself. It requires coaching, it requires help, it requires techniques for the product owner, for the Scrum Masters, for the teams as well. So that's yet another part of work that we need to learn in this new way of working.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was just having this question in my head, and it's keep moving and moving while you are speaking about this. Do you really think that the teams will committed to it? Are you committing to get my business value out of what you are saying? So I think my questions is related. Organizing work will lead us about commitment of teams, especially if we are speaking about this right now. We have a lot of teams working remotely, even working at homes, and commitment now become a challenge, big challenge for achieving business, because we all have this economical crisis. We all have like less cash. We all have this market bad conditions all over the world. Oil is down. Wow, everyone is in rush to maintain his benefit. So you're coming to me and say, okay, we are going to have agile. We are going to anchor agile. We are going to have safe in place. How can you make commitment for yourself and for the 150 people in the art teams? What do you think, Una?
Well, I think it's relatively simple, fortunately, because one of the major shifts that we're doing, and we're doing that in Agile, we're doing that in Safe, whatever practice you're using, instead of having somebody else plan the work for you, breaking it into small pieces, sometimes also estimating it. How big a commitment can you get from people who didn't plan their own work, who didn't have too much of a say in what you're estimating? I mean, you're getting this piece of work and somebody's telling you, get it done in 3 months. So what? Now, some of the things that I've seen in teams when they, and this is usually from when they're coming to the first PI planning, where the lightning strikes them and they see this, it's a bit scary as well, because suddenly they get this feature and they need to break it down, and they need to estimate it, and they need to put it into an iteration, and then they need to commit to quality as well. And it's a bit scary, actually, because they've been used to getting everything served and just do what they're told. And now suddenly they are the ones, suddenly your agile team is an agile team of project managers because they need to do all the work themselves of the planning. But the result being, at the end, when you actually commit, you see during the execution, in this case, it's our program increments or our iterations, you see how people are actually engaged. I mean, they made a commitment. They did the plan. They can't blame anybody else. They can only blame themselves. So they're actually working hard. So sometimes as coaches and scrum masters, you actually need to be a bit careful with your team that they're not, just because they got a commitment, are just going to work 80 hours a week to get there, because people get really engaged when they get the responsibility to do it. I think that's one of the most powerful things, is this shift in responsibility from somebody else planning for you to you doing your own plan. You're the master in your own house doing that kind of a thing, and that brings real commitment, that brings real buy-in and passion for those people who are going to do the work. So I think that's a major shift. Of course, if somebody else is pushing you and trying to influence your estimates, that's going to lessen the engagement, and that's really what we as transformation agents, as scrum masters, as SPCs, whatever you have out there, we need to be able to help with safeguarding the team so that they can live up to the commitments they have planned and given themselves.
Wow, yes. I believe this is one thing we all need to start think with about our knowledge workers, and how can we transform the decisions from them, not from them, to them.
Yeah, to them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like a manager now. I want to give work to them. No, you want to give decisions for them. So one thing is to relieve commitment, is to increase the knowledge worker and decision of knowledge worker in your art team. But sometimes I would challenge this and say, okay, Una, yes, they're doing everything, they're doing commitment, everything is fine, but I can't find my team committed to his work. When I come for the first iteration, or in the middle of PI planning, I found that some teams are not committed. What should I do? We face it every damn night, actually.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not committed to my work. Well, so of course being a coach, I would always like to understand more of the situation. So I can always say that it depends. That's my default consultant answer. I mean, commitment. Is it because they're not bought into the process? Is it because they simply liked? I mean, so I've met a lot of specialists, in transformation that's been going on for years. Just give me the work that I need to do. I'll sit in my corner. I'll do it, and that's what I like. And quite frankly, you see these people, and they're typically very skilled at what they do, but they are maybe more preferable to working by themselves. They want to go do it in a team, and it's back to hard work. You will need within the team to have discussions. Not only the Scrum Master. This is not the Scrum Master's responsibility. This is a team thing. This is back to our bi-weekly retrospectives, needing to have discussions with these people. And I think one of my other great agile idols also said, when you're going in to an agile transformation, not everybody's going to like it. Not everybody's going to stay. Not everybody's going to enjoy working agile. And that's okay. That's okay. You will see people who are thriving more in this way of working that they always done. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. They may not be needed. Maybe there's other places in the company that can be used on the skills, but we really need to think about, we're trying to create teams that are motivated, that are committed to doing this work. And we need to work on that. We need to give opportunities. It's not going to be for everybody. And that's just life.
Well, I want to share one of my secrets or one of my recipe for our friends here on this webinar, because we already passed an hour having each other. Yeah. So I would like to share one of things when I'm gonna to having this transformation and starting to working with art. First thing, I'm checking the CVs, I'm checking the names. And I'm doing like 360 for most of the guys who's working with art, because it's coming from the principle we have an individual operating system, and we getting out of hierarchy and art or network. And actually, this gave me a huge understanding. Of course, it takes a lot of time, but I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing it with some Scrums teams, and the RTEs, or maybe some with a sponsor as well. But we are seeking change agents, and these change agents who are the ones who will be on the first art or who's working in agility. So start, and this is my own recipe, start to see your people before you complain they are not committed, because you are not here as an SPC, you are not here as a delivery manager, you are here as a leader. And leader is the one who knows his people. So one of my recipes is I am just gonna to check, okay, how do you find, do we have any HR information about these guys, okay? Because we are an organization, end of the day. So I am getting benefit of hierarchy. And then if we found, like what Rune said, okay, they are not committed, I'm gonna to think about them, okay, and ask why you are not committed. And it depends. I am again gonna to HR and get used about who are these guys, what they are gonna look like, before I'm going to speak to them, because it will add more information to you. And remember, information here is a vehicle for your transformation. So I don't know how do you like my recipe, Rune, but actually this is one of my secrets when I'm doing transformation. Yeah. I'm knowing people before working with people, actually.
Yeah. So I mean, I know we've been talking. It's past the time, so it's gonna lean nicely into this whole what's gonna happen after the transformation. I know it's a cliche, because saying transformation never ends, and no, it doesn't. But there's always a point where you have everything organized, I mean, in your trains and teams and portfolio, and what then? Where do we go from there? I think you touched point on something that's really important, and these are the other practices you see in the business, the non-technical ones. And let's pick one. Let's pick HR, an example, because of course the way that we hire, that we develop, that we incentivize people inside our organization needs to lean into the whole new way of working that we have spent time and money and sweat and tears of getting in there. So having these other parts of the business transform so they support business agility. So is it a good thing that we incentivize individual behavior rather than team behavior? Maybe not. Should we look at other qualities when we hire people? Maybe we don't need to have the best specialists. Maybe the best employee we can get is somebody who can empathize, that can work in teams, that can collaborate. Things that are equally important as to the other experience and expertises that the teams come with. So look at it in a more balanced way. Talking to leadership. You know, how can we develop leadership so they can develop people? So these are just some of the things you can start to look into. I know we have a lot of other things on agile marketing, but I really think that getting to work with agile HR is going to be something huge, because that is really what's going to help change the culture and help get the right mindset engraved into the enterprises and where we're working with this. I think that's absolutely crucial, and not stop just because you had IT transformed. This is where you really need to accelerate and spread out into the rest of the organization, so this becomes an enterprise culture rather than just an IT culture.
Yeah, well, actually, I think to keep the transformation as well, and to moving with more R's and more solutions, faces some challenges when we're going for business people. So you speak about HR and about anchors organization culture and anchoring agility inside the organization. But what about marketing people? Because, you know, these guys are not believing in us. They are not believing in anything rather than having customers here and getting benefits and achieving targets. So how can we make this relentless improvement as well with agile guys and with marketing guys?
Well, so fortunately, I think I'm working with some of the smartest agile marketing people I've ever seen before. I mean, if it's an area you want to deep dive into, we are adding a lot of guidance on these other business functions that we have. I mean, we just introduced business agility back in September last year, and now we're actually seeing some of the payback. We're seeing how agile HR can work. We're seeing guidance on agile marketing. We're seeing different ways to include legal and compliance into it. So I mean, it's something that's going to grow. And I mean, I think there's even an agile manifesto for marketing available. So these things will come, and these functions will start to lean into the whole lean agile way of working. I think that's natural. It will take time. They need to find their place of working. I mean, I'm not a marketing specialist, so it's probably not my place to do that. But I know some pretty smart marketing people who've taken agile to themselves and starting to transform within there. And that's what I think we need. We need a really broad diversity of skills, and then adding lean agile competences to them, so we can start to see this mixture and how it's going to function inside the enterprises. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Include those people who are there, have good discussions with them, start to work and see what the material we have, and then let's try and experiment, because that's really also what it's about. Let's experiment different ways of working and see what we can get to.
Well, actually, I would like to mention, and because the papers, white paper, SAFE was just published about agile marketing, and I was lucky guy to study, SAFE agile marketing and get my certification on it. But what I'm really like on this, and like what Rune said, and I advise every one of you is to go there and to read this paper. It's a great one, actually. Is how to emphasize the value for agile teams, how to make these teams part of your business agility and business transformation. And one simple thing, and actually I was grateful for SAFE and for guys for SAFE to publishing this paper, is about going to market, or TTM. We all know that TTM is okay. Thank you, Rune. He just put it in the chat. So you can find the paper now in the chat. If you can go and read it, it's a great one. And it's TTM, time to market. How can we accelerate time to market with marketing teams? This is great application of what we are speaking about. We are speaking about commitment, we are speaking about relentless improvement, but you as an agilist and an ambassador for agile and scaling agile, you need to know well how to dealing with the big heart of organization, which are marketing and business teams. So I think relentless is a journey, is a sustainability in itself is a journey. So champs, you are here. We are not here to stay. We're here to anchor culture and let others go for it. Rune, I think we reached to our last point. So in a few words, would you like to conclude your nice discussions and then to open like 10 minutes for questions from our attendees?
Yeah, if they still want to hear us talk, absolutely. Yeah. So no, I just think, you can see how difficult it is to cover all of these topics in such a short time, and that there's so many things that we're still needing to explore. The good thing is, and as you know, those of you who follow Scaled Agile and the SAFE framework, developing the framework is an iterative process. I mean, we're learning, we're trying, we're developing new versions, and surely you're going to see new guidance on both on the business and the IT and the hardware side moving forward. We're not standing still. We're trying something new, and we're listening to the market, we're getting feedback. So transforming businesses into lean and agile is a transformation in itself that requires that we try out some things in smaller batches and learn from that. I think I'm going to finish with that.
Well, thank you, Rune. I would like to thank you for this webinar. I am Fady Ismaeel from Cairo. And I think we have like 10 minutes. So please open your mics, just tell us your feedback, tell us your questions if you have, because I think me and my friend Rune, we're gonna to stop talking. We have been talking like, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Wow, that's great.
I've been speaking all day. I'm used to it.
So we are hoping to hear your questions.
Hi, this is Karthik here. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm dialing in from Singapore. So I just have a couple of questions. One is like we touched upon the leadership coaching at the beginning of this session. So I just want to hear from you on what exactly is the prep work that we need to do before we even begin this transformation, because I'm an enterprise agile coach and I help my clients to embrace agile and move into new ways of working. So I kind of looking to scale agile for my clients. So I just want to understand before we begin a journey, right? How do we, like we do have the John C. Cotter's change management framework or the ATCAR framework. So, but none of the places we talk about how do we prepare ourselves at the leadership level. Right, as an agile coach, I see there is definitely a role play for us to kind of educate the leadership, right? To ensure, because many places they don't really take things seriously, and there is no enough leadership support. End of the day, an agile transformation phase, right? We do know that the State of Agility Report 2020 also says that. Right, that's one of the constant thing report says for many years together, lack of leadership support, and it stands at the top.
Yeah.
So what is that? Yeah.
So if I understand your question well, you're speaking about introducing Scaled Agile to enterprises and what should be starting first, right?
Yeah, in terms of the leadership, preparing the leaders, right? So the top level. When I say leaders, I mean the C-suite people, and as well as one level down.
Okay. Okay. Rune?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I had a webinar yesterday. I pretty much got the same question, just in a different language. The answer may be simpler, but unfortunately also harder at the same time. What I usually try to find out when I'm working businesses is what is their concerns. You know, if I come in and I try to tell them all the great things about SAFe and all the things they can do and all the things I'm going to change in their organization, and they don't believe they have a problem, maybe they don't have a problem, you know, I can yell and scream as much as I want, it's not going to help. You know, so it's stepping back and finding out what challenges is it that this enterprise has that these leaders are concerning themselves about. And of course, there's some typical categories that falls into this problem, and based on these categories, we can help with answers. So some of the problems you usually see is that we're having too long time from our ideas and until they get to the market. That's the typical time to market issue. You know, like I mentioned before, we had 90 weeks time to market. It's too slow. Our competitors are going much faster. You know, what I'm going to do. But just by finding out about these things, you can start to build up your argumentation for, well, why is this a good idea? So we're talking about time to market. Your response will be, well, inside the framework where we're working a lot with lean, everybody knows lean is about removing waste from our processes that we have. It's about optimizing, it's about relentlessly improving, and really trying to get our work, and again, like we talked about earlier, break it into smaller pieces, get it faster out there. We're not going to get the big solutions all at once, but you are going to get it step by step. So that would be the time to market approach. Then you have the other one that all of your customers are complaining about the low quality products you're coming out with. There's a lot of defects in there. Well, then you have a different angle to start to work with, because how are we building in quality? Well, you can talk about some of the quality practices. Don't go into too much detail, but just talk about that we actually are going to do that. We are going to spend time doing quality assurance as we go along, rather than at the end. So the whole angle here is that I can't possibly come with any conceivable answer, but the thing is, you need to start out with thinking, what is on their list of concerns? What are you bringing that's going to help solve the problem? But you need to understand the problem first. It's back to design thinking, really. You know, try to talk to them, empathize with them, find out what the problem you're trying to solve, and then find that piece of process or work that you can get from the framework and say, well, in SAFe or in Agile, we can use this method or this process or this principle to address it. But if you don't ask what the problem is, you know, you're just coming with something that looks really complex and really annoying. So that's one thing. So try to understand the problem, try to empathize with them before you start to sell them a framework. It's usually going to go a bad way. You need to understand what problems the organization is in. Or if we start there.
Exactly. So there is no one size fits all.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's a framework. It's a framework. Yeah. If you're going to go into a business and put all this into place at once, you're going to fail.
Yes.
You're going to find the problem. You're going to find the parts of the framework, of course, within the reasons that we have in there, and you apply that and you solve that problem. And then you come to them and say, what's the next problem I can help you with?
Well, I need to interrupt here because we only have 7 minutes. So
sorry, I'm talking again.
I'm just have anyone has more questions, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Muhammad. Yes, go.
Okay, this is Muhammad Al-Faqih. I'm originally from Sudan, but I live here in Qatar. I'm also an Agile coach, certified SAFe Agilist and certified Scrum Master. Actually, firstly, thank you, Fady, for this great webinar. Thank you, Rune, also. It's a really great opportunity. Fady always is a pioneer here in the region, and just please, it's just an asking to keep hosting such SPCT and expert in such webinars. My question is about safe for government.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yes. I think safe for government is more about the agile practices, the practices in the U.S. government agencies.
Yeah.
It is not generalized. So my question is how to generalize this safe government practices to be so that can be used in other government around the globe.
Yeah.
In the same direction, it's about we know that the transformation start usually by reaching the tipping point, and it's very easy for the private sector to recognize that it has to change, it must change, because this is the tipping point and some disruption is going on. But how about the government? I think it cannot be recognizable very easy that we reach that tipping point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a really, really good question. I have no idea how I'm going to make this a short answer, so I'll do my best. I'll try to respond to the two questions. So the safe for government, again, it's a very special class, and it's, you're absolutely right. It was very much addressed to the US market, to a lot of the government functions that's in there. That being said, it's also a class that is tailorable. So you can actually go in and change some of the content, again, based on those countries that you're working in. I know of a few countries that has modified it to their domain. So it's really something you need to go in and work with some experts on, to say, how can we tailor this specific class to our specific area? Okay. That being said, I have trained a lot of leaders and people in the government sector using the normal leading safe, because the principle's still there, they still apply, and it still works. And you're right. And now I'll try to answer the second question you have. It's a different word. I mean, the job of the government is not to make money.
Yeah. The
job of the government is to spend the money they have been trusted by the citizens wisely. You know, how do we spend our tax money in the best possible way? And that's really what you, so I'm working a lot with government agencies up here in Scandinavia. So I'm very aware about how I formulate myself when I do my trainings. I'm not going to talk about profit. I'm not going to talk about return on investment, because that's not what's in their interest. It's really about, and I go back to my principles, it's about serving the citizens. It's about making sure that you have the best possible use of the money that you're getting and you're entrusted with. I'm so conscious about that. That being said, in the government sector, you know, you're still under pressure. You're still under pressure to save. You're still under pressure to make new solutions to the citizens that you have in the country. And you're still being asked to be more productive in the ways of working. So many of the things that we're coming with Lean, with Agile, with the framework, is going to address those problems they have. You just need to make sure that when you speak to them, you're not speaking about profits anymore. We're speaking about optimizing and making ways of working more effective in that sense. But I mean, I think I've worked with just as many private as I've worked with public sectors with SAFE, and some of the biggest transformations I have up here in the north are actually public. I'm working with this 14, 16 Agile release trains, almost 1,000 people creating new systems for the taxation systems and everything. So it's very, very possible. There's a lot of people working in the public sector. You just need to make sure that you address, again, what is it they need? Sit down, listen. What are we trying to solve here? Is it time to market? Is it quality? Is it something else? So it's the same thing, but take your time to listen, because it's some other people working here with some other goals compared to enterprises.
Rune, thank you. We only have like a couple of minutes. So
right.
Muhammad, thank you. I want to leave one last question. So one of our attendees, we have one question because we always be on time. So if anyone has more question, we are happy to hear. Last question.
Yeah, one last question from my end, a quick one. Can we use OKRs, objective and key results, to kind of for our agile transformation, just to measure, right?
OKRs?
Is it a wise idea?
In 2 words, we have like 2 minutes. So
okay. Well, I just want to make sure. So, what's the question? Whether you
OKRs.
Okay, good. I'll make it short. So, short answer is absolutely. We have just added guidance on using OKRs. This is though for the portfolio level. We're using that for setting the strategic themes in the company. Can you use them for your transformation? I don't see why not. I mean, you want to achieve some goals. You're going in a direction. You want to measure it. Sure, I don't see any problems with that. If you want to read more about it, go and have a look at the strategic themes article on the framework. You'll see references to OKRs in there. So I'll say absolutely.
Thank you, Rune. And one last thing I want to show you is our website. So this is AG Consultant, our website, and we are happy to have safe trainings. We have like SA trainings in last November, and we have one here in December. We have Scrum Master, and we have also consultation. And I think I put it on the chat, so just you can check it. We have a lot of articles here in a blog site, so you can check blog. You will find a lot of articles in English and in Arabic as well. And speaking about aspects of transformation, of safe executive coaching. And I believe this is the last thing I want to share with you. It was my pleasure to having you here and to host Rune Christensen. Thank you, Rune. Thank you for everyone. Thank you from Cairo, Egypt. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Fady. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye.